Hey, what's up, everybody? So, I have another mukbang, dinner mukbang. So I'm doing the same tortellini I did a week or two ago. This is chicken tortellini. It's got, let's see, chicken thigh, ricotta, and whole milk mozzarella. And this time, I'm doing a red sauce. I have 3 cheese pasta sauce. Great value because it was cheap at Walmart. So hopefully this turns out better than the Alfredo one did. We got our big old pot there. I have a culture pop for beverage. For desserts, yogurt and yogurt, of course, just because I eat so much damn yogurt. And then, depending on how full I am, got one of those protein cinnamon rolls, and then another one of these Built bars. So yeah, I'm really hoping that this turns out better than the tortellini did. Yeah, it was so disappointing last time. You know, I feel like Buitoni, like the refrigerated like tortellini, I feel like their quality has gone downhill. I don't know if they made any changes within like the past several months. But I remember these being so much better. I mean, this isn't bad. But just still, like, I don't know, just doesn't taste as good as I remember it being. So that's really disappointing. I wouldn't be surprised. It's such a shame, like, how many companies are doing, like, shrinkflation and or enshittification. So if you've never heard those terms, shrinkflation, essentially reducing the size of something. So let's say, you know, like this was 20 ounces normally for $5. When they shrinkflate it, it'll be like 18 ounces, and then they'll sometimes also raise the price. So 18 ounces for like $5.50. So not only did it get more expensive, it also got smaller. And they do it instead of raising the price more, because if the price increases, someone might be like, oh, well, that got more expensive, I don't want to buy it. But they're less likely to notice, and they don't necessarily always increase the price, but when they shrink the product size, but they're banking on people not noticing that it's smaller, like you get less product for the same amount of money, or even more. You know, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't realize, like, so that's shrinkflation, because it's like, you know, shrinking and inflation. Yeah, this is still good. This is much better than the Alfredo one. And then the enshittification is just when they make their products out of cheaper ingredients. So like candy bars, for example, like, you know, some candy bars, you know, used to be like one of the top ingredients was like cocoa or coca, whatever, and this and that. And then like because the coca prices are increasing, they substitute it with like just like, you know, or have it like less of it and just like more sugar and like palm oil and stuff like that. So they'll change the recipe and use something that's cheaper and hope that people just still continue to buy it. So I wonder if with Buitoni, I wonder if that has happened recently. Which, I mean, would make sense because their prices have, it's like remained about the same for quite a while. So, you know, with inflation and companies, you know, corporations being greedy and wanting to squeeze as much money out of the consumer as possible, it's very possible that they switch to using cheaper ingredients. But I can't say that for sure. I really don't know. I don't have any evidence. It just, it just seems that way. Because, like, I've gotten Buitoni before, like, I want to say, like, 6-7 months ago. And it was, like, so good. It was so good. And I used the same sauce, the 3 cheese, great value sauce. So the sauce, well, okay, to be fair, the sauce might have also they might have used cheaper ingredients, but when I had it like 6 or 7 months ago, it was like so good. It was so delicious. And it's like, this is still good, but it just doesn't have that same amount of flavor. So I'm probably not going to eat this whole pot. Let's see how much. So there's 290 calories per serving. There's 5 servings in here, so that's like 1,500 calories. 13 grams of protein, so that's 26, 52, 65, I think. If my math is correct. Yeah, I think that's 65. So what I'll probably do is eat about half, and then that way I can refrigerate the other half and have that for dinner tomorrow. Yeah, it was just way better without that Alfredo sauce, though. Which was weird because when I was doing that mukbang with the tortellini and the Alfredo sauce, like, when it was fresh, it, like, tasted, like, really weird. But then when I saved the leftovers, because I didn't want to waste it, I really hate to waste food. When I saved the leftovers and I ate it cold, it was pretty good. It didn't have that weird flavor. So I don't understand. I don't know what was up with that. But yeah, I could really use the fuel. I had a really good leg workout today. Even though I feel like with the worsening peripheral neuropathy that I've talked about in a video recently, and my kind of like stagnant gains in like my lower body, like in terms of like getting stronger and putting on more mass, I don't seem to be making any progress. And it's like part of it is because my knee hurts, so I can't like really push myself too much. But it almost seems like my nervous system is I'm starting to regress in terms of like the sensory and like the motor component of my nervous system. So it's like I don't know. I mean, it could very well be like I talked about, you know, the nitrous oxide abuse, that nerve damage I experienced. It's like catching up to me. So it's like I recovered from it for the most part. Maybe now that's like I'm getting older, like starting to decline. I hope that's not the case. That's pretty worrying. Because obviously if that continues, there could be a chance that I will go back to not being able to walk again. Which that thought terrifies me. Hopefully not. I mean, hopefully it's just like a little bit of regression, but not to the whole point of like not even being able to walk. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but the possibility that that could possibly happen. And also my calves have like, the muscle fiber's been like twitching a bit. It's almost like the the nerves like are misfiring. So I don't know what's going on. I need to talk to my doctor when I see him later in September. I haven't set up an appointment with neurology yet because my PCP referred me to neurology in regards to the peripheral neuropathy getting worse. But when I called to set up an appointment, they said usually it takes like 2 weeks for insurance to authorize the neurology appointment. So kind of sucks because there might be a chance that worsening peripheral neuropathy isn't enough reason to schedule with neurology. But to be fair, I don't think there's much they can really do. I mean, I guess it would be nice to maybe get some tests and like see if there's evidence of my nerves breaking down again. The problem though is I never ended up getting like any tests or like imaging done right after or at any point since the nerve damage. So it's like even if they do imaging or like testing, there's like nothing to compare it to. So they can't. It's not like they can be like, ooh, almost fell. Almost be like, okay, so the image from 2020, still or the image now in 2025 still looks better than it did in 2020, or like, oh hey, it looks like it's not better. I don't know. There's no point in thinking about too much or worrying. So we'll see what happens. I feel like I'm forgetting something. My vitamins. No, I think that's everything. For those of you that take medications and or supplements or vitamins, do you take like each one separately, or are you like me and just like, well, I guess it depends on how much you take too. If you do take several at a time, like do you take them one at a time, or do you just take the whole bunch and just do it in one go? I like doing them in one go. Just easier that way. When I used to work as a nurse, I would have some patients that would be on multiple psychiatric medications, and so when it came to give them their meds, like pop everything into like a med cup and then go, here you go. Sometimes they would like take each one. It'd take like forever because they had like a handful of different meds, and then they would take each one at a time. Or what was frustrating too is some would freaking take the med cup and like dump the pills in their hand and then go to take them, and then they would end up dropping a pill or two. And it's like, dude, just do it from the med cup. That's why they're there, to make it easier. I mean, you have to look on the ground. You have to try and find it and figure out what medication it is. I hate to say it, I would ask the patient, be like, are you okay with still taking this? Or I can get you a new one. But if you couldn't find it, you don't know what pill dropped. So it's like you don't know what medications they ended up actually taking and which one's missing. And then it's like, a pain in the ass to figure out, what one that you need to get to go give them. Yeah, in some regards, I do miss nursing. Um, it's, thankless job for the most part, but still kind of rewarding, like getting to help people, and especially in like, times where they need care. But at the same time, I don't miss all the stress and anxiety it caused me, like having people's lives in my hands, like literally. I mean, that's pretty scary. Because anything could happen at a moment. They can have a code blue, stop breathing, or end up having a heart attack. Or maybe some serious adverse effects from their medication. With psych, there's always the possibility of a patient acting out any HI or SI, hurting themselves or hurting other people. But another thing I do miss too is the pay was really good. At least in my opinion, on the nursing subreddit, on Reddit, there's a lot of nurses that are like, we don't get paid enough. It's like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? Like, for the most part, it pays pretty well. It's like you're just living out of your means, And that's another thing too. Like, I'm not gonna get started on, but it's like, yeah, people should get paid more, but at the same time, it's like you have to manage your expectations. Like, you have to live within your means. You can't just buy yourself everything you want. But for me, like my last job, I was getting paid $40 an hour. And then there's like a weekend differential of like $1. And then I think they also had a wait, I said evening, right? An evening differential. And then there's a weekend differential too, I think. So that was like another $1 or $2. And I worked on weekends. And I exclusively worked evening shift, unless I was like picking up a shift. So that's a good amount of money. I mean, I had more money than I knew what to do with, which also fueled a lot of my drug addiction. Like with the nitrous oxide, that's how I was able to afford so much of it, is just because I got paid pretty well. So, it would have been nice to still be working as a nurse, because in the time since I've gotten fired, it's been almost 6 whole years, which is crazy to think about. Well, this December it'll be 6 years, so almost 6 years. If I'd been working that whole time, I could probably have easily gotten my own, like an actual house. Obviously not paid off in full, but be able to get, afford a mortgage and a down payment and have my own house. My car would have been paid off. I was like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of making good money and having those things if you wake up every day wanting to kill yourself? I mean, having that bad of anxiety and stress where it's just like, on the days I worked, I'd wake up, and even though I didn't have to work until like 3, just immediately anxious right upon waking up. Anxious for the whole rest of the day. And then, that's what fueled a lot of my nitrous oxide abuse. kind of the afterglow of having like a session of, you know, a few hundred cartridges. The afterglow like really helped ameliorate my depression symptoms and ameliorate my anxiety symptoms. So, and that afterglow would last like multiple days after my last use. Obviously, it would be the depression and anxiety would be better, like while I was actively using it, because, you know, being under the influence of a anesthetic, I mean, obviously you're not going to feel too much of those feelings too much. But it's like for me, you know, when I would do that multiple times per week, I would have a lot less anxiety and depression. So it kind of made things manageable. Obviously, that's a very maladaptive way to cope with, you know, depression, anxiety, and stress. But, you know, it kind of worked for me. But, yeah, it's just like, what's the point of having like a good paying job if like the only way you can kind of cope with it is to do something like that? I mean, after work, I would come home and like on the way home, pick up like a 6-pack or a few like 22-ounce bottles of beer, or, you know, when they started coming out with them, the 19.2 ounces can of beer, and I'd get like the IPAs or like Imperial IPAs. So it's like, you know, 8-9% alcohol per volume. I've been having my weed pen, you know, with like 98% THC per weight. Get home, drink, smoke. And then, you know, eat munchies and then pass out and do it all over again. Just a very unsatisfying life. So, I mean, it would have been nice if I was able to, like, cope with that without substances. And, you know, potentially it saved my career, but, you know, I don't know. I don't have any regrets, where I don't look at it and be like, oh man, I should have done that, or, you know, I could have done this. It's not productive in the first place. And then also, it's like if I hadn't gone down this path, then I most likely would not be making videos online talking about my experiences with the nitrous oxide abuse and nerve damage. And you know, it seems like that some of that content, has helped some people, like based on the comments I've gotten on them, on some of the videos where I talk about that. People are appreciative of me sharing my story, you know, and like spreading awareness, and also providing some hope, like, hey, yes, physical recovery is possible. And of course, I most likely would not be doing recovery coaching as a job, which I absolutely love. So, yeah, I don't have any regrets. It's just interesting to think about, though. Like, I would be, especially if I actually got sober back then and stopped using substances and stopped spending money on it, I would be pretty financially well off right now. Like I said, probably have a house with a good chunk of it already paid off, because I would try to work towards that as much as possible. Maybe have some money in like a high yield savings account. What do y'all think? Do you think... I think that's about half. Let me have like a few more. But another thing too is, like, let's say, you know, I didn't get fired and lose my nursing license. like maybe in that alternative timeline, one day going to work, I was involved in a fatal car crash, then I'd be dead. Although to be fair, like I would be cool with that. Like I think I've talked a little bit about it on my channels and some of the content. My baseline is like always wishing to be dead. It's not necessarily like actively having SI or, you know, wanting to carry it out, but pretty much always it's like, yeah, it would be nice to just be dead. And I know that sounds kind of depressing or like morbid, but the way I see it, it's like, you know, even in times where like life is good, it's still a struggle. You know, it still takes so much effort and energy. And it's like if you're dead, you don't have to. I mean, you're dead. You don't have to worry about, you know, eating any food. You don't have to worry about paying for bills. You don't have to worry about having a roof over your head. You know, like they're non-issues. So I wouldn't mind it, you know, if I did pass away in the alternative timeline, but you know, I guess I wouldn't be able to have any sort of impact on like, you know, the world on some level of scale if I was dead. So I don't know. Again, I know that sounds like weird. I mean, I guess it also depends on your spiritual and religious beliefs. You know, like what happens after death. Like some people, it's just like, this is it. So it's like, if that's the case, you'd be dead and like not be alive anymore to like even think about the fact that you're dead. So it's like, that would be a non-issue. Or if there is an afterlife, it's like you get to move on to that. But I know, like, you know, like doing that to yourself is like bad, you know, like it's considered a sin and this or that, or probably bad karma. So and honestly, the main thing keeping me alive is my parents. Like I don't want to do that to them. So yeah, you know, just I'm staying here, sticking with it, trying to do the best I can. Good to make fun content like this. Even though this is like, I guess, some more heavy content. Yeah, I think that's about good. Out of curiosity, do any of you, do you like to just, oh, damn it. Damn it. Do you, maybe a few more. Do you like to eat out of like pots or pans, or instead of like putting it into a bowl or a plate? I like doing this because it saves me, dishes. You know, it's like one less dish to have to worry about. Even though with the dishwasher, that's not such a big deal. And to be fair, I'm going to be putting these leftovers into a bowl anyways, because I need to make sure the pot is washed so that way it's available for other people in the house. Good stuff. But I wanted to do it that way because I don't have any bowls that would be big enough to put everything in there. And I didn't want to have to go back and forth or, you know, spend time like putting it in a bowl. So it's like either way I'd be using a bowl. So I don't know, kind of a moot point. But yeah, I'm sure I'm not the only one that, you know, eats out of pots and pans. Like if I make soup or something. It's like, why dirty a dish, you know? But I don't know. I'm a little odd and eccentric. I mean, October 8th. That smells a little weird. Still gonna eat it. But yeah, any of you that like occasionally watches my content, like you've probably observed that. You know, I like my odd and eccentric behavior and like habits. Makes life fun. I like to joke that I'm like a cluster A personality type. And for those that don't know, there's 3 personality types. There's cluster A, which is like the eccentric, kind of weird. So it's like you have your schizoid personality, schizotypal. I don't know if there's a third one. I want to say there is a third one, but I don't remember. So it's kind of like having some odd thinking, but not quite to the point of like having schizophrenia. And also, like, they tend to be like socially isolated and not have too many relationships. So I check a few boxes off in that regard. But then like cluster B is I highly suggest you look these up yourself. Don't take me at my word. But like cluster B is like the I don't know what you would call it, but like more socially involved. So it's like narcissistic personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and then I think antisocial personality disorder. Actually, you know what? Yeah, you know, if any of you are watching this and you know, listening to me on this, look it up and let me know in the comments if I'm right on the cluster personalities here. But I'm pretty sure the cluster B is those 4, and I'm sure I don't have to explain those. I mean maybe histrionic. If I remember correctly, histrionic is kind of like borderline personality disorder. They're like very dramatic, attention seeking. Yeah, borderline, I mean, you guys know that. Narcissistic, you know that. And then cluster C, I think there's like, I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's like kind of obsessive compulsive personality disorder. I don't think it's as intense as OCD as like an actual diagnosis. And then there's like avoidance personality disorder. I think there's like 1 or 2 more. I can't think of them. Yeah, let me know like if you guys end up looking it up to fact check me, which please do. I think everyone should do that with everything. Never take anyone at their word. Or like a company or like news or like media. Never just be like, oh, okay, that must be true. Because they're talking about it in a confident way. You know, they must be correct. No. You should always do your own research. And then that way you can confirm whether it's true or find out the actual truth. So yeah, so if you do look it up, let me know if I'm right or mostly right on those. It's been a while since I've learned about that stuff. But yeah, so I guess my main point is all I'm trying to say is I feel like I am cluster A, just with the being eccentric and having some magical thinking. Definitely amplified during my mania and psychosis from the nitrous oxide abuse. God, I was so delusional, grandiose, and I was so paranoid. It was so intense, like it was scary. Just having a completely altered perception of reality. Yeah, very scary. I don't recommend it. I'll admit, before it got to like the psychosis part, the mania was actually kind of nice. Um, I'm sure anyone with bipolar disorder, particularly bipolar 1, I think that's the one that's more mania centered with some depression, and bipolar 2 is more depression with hypomania. But even with the hypomania, I'm sure like some of you can relate. Like, I hate to say it, like sometimes the mania like is just like, it feels great. Like you just feel so euphoric and energized and like excited. Feel like invincible. You could take on the whole world. You don't need to sleep much. And just get stuff done. But it, becomes problematic. I'm not saying it's all good. I'm just saying like that part was enjoyable, but just the whole like more impulsive, riskier behaviors. Like maybe like buying 10 computers just because you thought that would be a good idea, or give all your money away. That part's not so fun. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I should eat this as well. I'm still kind of hungry. But I feel like I got enough protein, because so 65 in the ravioli, if I ate about half, that's like 33. 20 from the chobani, so that's 53. 13 from the other one, so that's 66. This has 17. I'm gonna eat one more of these. I don't want the cinnamon roll right now. I think it's just gonna be a little too dry. So I'm gonna eat another one of these. These things are super good. I know there's like collagen in here, so it's not all whey protein, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's not super great. It's not like a full protein. But with me doing legs today, I'm sure my body can use some collagen for my joints and tendons. I really need to stop. I need to stop eating here. Let me show you guys my my snack drawer. And I went to Safeway today and bought a bunch more too, because it's still on clearance, and like they keep stocking it. Like the cinnamon rolls, I've bought most of them out several times now, and then I look a few days later and like they have more. I wonder if like they're not selling well in any of their other stores, but like since I'm buying them at that store, they're just moving their inventory into this store. I don't know. But one thing I need to do for sure is like I don't want to restrict my eating too much, my diet, like I've talked about, because I really like food, but I need to stop eating in the middle of the night. Eating some yogurts and like a protein bar before bed, okay, sure, that's, but waking up several times in the middle of the night and just eating like a few things, I'm gaining weight. I'm getting fatter again. Well, I guess not quite. I think my legs, I said earlier they're not really growing, but I think because the biking, they do seem to be a little thicker. Like my strength's not that much more, but I think my legs are bigger, not necessarily for muscle fibers, but I think maybe like increased glycogen stores from doing all that cardio, so my body's like kind of trying to adapt. And then with the carbohydrate, water follows, so it's just like. And then, I mean, I am getting more muscular too, it seems like. So it's not all fat gain, but still, I want to get below 200, dude. I keep like fluctuating between like 202 and like 210, and lately it's been more like 208 and 210. So I need to stop eating in the middle of the night. It's just so hard. I just wake up so hungry. But that's a story for another time. But yeah, oh, this was a great dinner, a great dessert too. Yeah, this turned out way better than the Alfredo one. Also, it was just so gross when it was hot. I don't know why. Yeah, and good dessert too. Those things are good. So hopefully y'all liked it. As always, you know, if you did like it or found it entertaining, you know, hitting the like button helps tremendously. And if you aren't, you know, please consider subscribing or, you know, becoming a follower. That helps grow the channel too. I really want us to, you know, just get bigger, so you know, some of my more serious videos can reach more people. And then drop a comment, let me know what you think, especially about any of the stuff I talked about. I would love to hear everyone's opinions or their perspectives on some of the stuff I talked about. And like I said, you know, fact check me. I'm curious to see. I mean, I could look it up right after I make this video, but I'm not going to do that. So just out of curiosity, if you thought the personality disorder stuff was interesting and you did fact check me, let me know in the comments if I was right or if I was not right. And, you know, you can call me a dumbass too if you know, feel that's the case. So thank you everyone for watching. I will see you guys next time.